Nah.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to the Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day for about an hour. We run it live on YouTube, simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. We're watching the live chats that come in on both platforms. Once it's all over, we'll let it render into a video. We'll take the audio from that, turn it into a podcast over on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. So we're encouraging everybody who listens to the show now or in the future to leave us feedback on every show. Give us comments, like the channels on the various platforms. All of those efforts will let us know you're out there, but they'll also help recommend the show to more listeners, and we do appreciate that favor. There are 4 hosts. 3 of us are here today. Bob's still somewhere, and we got Dano jumping in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
And Z jumping in from Hawaii. Thanks for joining.
Well, aloha there.
And I'm down here in Arizona. So let's see. We're going to be starting episode up. Let's see, number 238. We'll be talking about CCW today, our entertainment topic, and then the weekly tactical quiz. Of course, at any moment, we can have a pop quiz as well. We have our daily topics. And before we get into all that, we usually take a break, see if anything happened overnight or anything worth talking about.
New Supreme Court nominee. Apparently, a good pick by some. A good pick according to some, a dangerous decision according to others.
And anybody who, when I hear that Gabby Gifford and her husband's organization is vehemently against this nomination, I have to say I must be all for it.
And I think Pelosi was one of the other ones where it sets a dangerous precedent and blah de blah de blah. So I was like you, Dan. I was probably more inclined to go, well, I guess he's still shaking the cage, and as long as the dude both respects the Constitution and feels it's his duty to enforce or I shouldn't say enforce, because the judicial system doesn't enforce anything. But as long as he can read it and knows what it means and will try and maintain it, then I'm okay with that. I have to be.
I have there's a article that I was reading. I'm just going to read 2 sentences, or maybe 3 sentences from it. It says, Gorsuch has a typical pedigree for a high court justice. He graduated from Columbia, Harvard, and Oxford, clerked for 2 Supreme Court justices, and did a stint at the Department of Justice. So the guy certainly has experience. And of course, he's been serving in the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Colorado. That's where he's been since 2006. He's an outdoor fisherman that hunts and skis and fishes. So he's a hunter. We got something there.
Well, technically that could backfire though too. I mean, especially if it's fuddy-duddy, perhaps. But again, unlike the majority of the people out there protesting and rioting and stuff like that, I'm willing to give it a chance. I'm willing to help in whatever way that I can to help make it a positive experience for both myself and the country. So, people trying to shut him down and impeach the guy and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, hasn't even been at it a month yet. I mean, give me a break. I did see that a couple of his appointments did pass, even though the Democrats were boycotting the actual vote. So I kind of giggled a little bit at that. Nothing.
Did you happen to catch which, not necessarily the names, but what departments got covered?
I would have to look that up because off the top of my head, no. I know that one or two was yesterday when they didn't vote, and then I think today was another 1 or 2. Oh, Sessions was one of them, I believe, the Attorney General, that everybody was making such a big deal about the other acting Attorney General getting fired over the weekend. Well, as far as I know, the Attorney General got voted or got accepted or got voted in, whatever you call it, whatever they call it,
Accepted.
congressionally appointed. I don't know, but yeah, that's basically it. Oh, nice. Smeggy does have a point. Or I'll go start with Mr. Ponnery. Libs are scared because he's a Scalia clone and he's only 49 years old, so he could be in there quite a long time. Then somebody else said he isn't a clone. He heard some super conservative people don't like him because he isn't hardcore religious, which I think that could be a good thing as well. Again, you kind of got to let things happen before you can fight against it, because otherwise you're swinging at air, right? I mean, It's one thing to be prepared, which I agree with, but it's another thing to fight all these invisible demons that we don't seem to have quite yet. He hasn't done it wrong, so why are we getting on him for being wrong? And I don't mean we, I just mean the populace.
I agree.
Nice. And Dead Horse did remind me he is not a FUD. Okay. Fair enough. Other than that, just these appointees, I didn't get a chance to hear much anything else going on. Not to say that nothing happened, just it seems like it really seems to be driving the point home lately. That seems to be the topic of conversation all over the place. So, anything else from anybody else?
Yes, overnight I was able to get back to the tactical quiz winners and send out all the patches to winners and calculate up the
places.
Yeah. So we have a three-way tie again. Kind of, we have a winner who's pulled ahead a bit, and then a two-way tie for second. So I'm scrolling down, and Sean Ponnery is now pulled ahead to 27 wins, so past the quarter-century mark. And then Matt G and Angry are tied for second with 24 wins each.
I would like to make an observation, if I may. Not to hurt Dano's feelings, but Angry, if you want to be the number one, there can only be one Highlander. You got to stop sending in questions, because Dano discounts you from winning every time you send in a question.
Well, I was actually going to mention that. And actually, I was going to challenge the other two that if you want to clearly, Mr. Ponnery especially, if you want to declare yourself as number one, then you need to send in some questions to give Angry a chance to catch up a little bit. So that's your homework assignment, Mr. Ponnery. Send in a handful of questions and answers with some sort of source, and give Angry a chance.
Now, wait a minute. When did you become the Bernie Sanders of Quizmaster, and that we are going to reallocate wins?
No, I'm not talking about reallocating. I said give him a chance. I'm not giving him an attendance award.
He wants to redistribute wins.
I
cannot believe I'm hearing this.
And give everybody a win based on.
See, you literally said almost the exact same thing that I did.
So let's look back and say.
No, I said Angry should stop sending them in because he's screwing himself.
Okay, so stop supporting the show. That's the message we want to give the listeners.
Raphael has 5 wins. Robbie has 5 wins. Pink has 4. So we've got plenty of people that are not quite in the big running, but are multiple winners.
I was going to say winners. They're winners.
But to be in second place and to have a number of times where he couldn't answer because it was his question, I think that's outstanding.
Yeah, second place is just first loser.
But man, you are just.
If you ain't in first, you're in last, Ricky Bobby.
You're just full of piss and vinegar today, aren't you?
That's one of my favorite movies. Talladega Nights.
But speaking of special notes, I would also like to just remind some of our listeners next week, our new hours, starting Monday, the Daily Gun Show starts at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, and 4 Pacific in the evening.
Yeah, looking forward to the new schedule. Should be able to. I know we're trying to do the midday time slot to create to see what kind of audience there might be in the middle of the day, and to keep gun channels like the conversation going throughout the day. And I think it's accomplished that. We've got the early watch. Smiggy's been able to jump in after his work day and do the early lobby sort of after our show. So hopefully this will continue to be interesting for people, that we touch on topics and the way that we do it. We'll hopefully get a bigger audience because it'll be later in the day, and typically there's more people around at that time. But we're hoping to still see some activity during the day. And since we're not, well, some of us have talked about we can jump into Jimmy's show and continue to still have some daily stuff. So it's not like we're going to lose this time slot as far as gun chat, but looking forward to having the everyday time slot later on in the day. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to not having it right in the middle of the day. For me, it'll be already in the early evening, so it'll drastically alter what I'm able to do in a day.
Yes, Z. I also look at the text chat. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess we'll get into the topics then. So today we're talking CCW, traveling in a car or flying. So I guess we're talking traveling with a firearm, either flying or in a car. You remember where this one came from? Is there anything specific to this, or where do you guys want to take this one?
I don't know where this came from specifically, because they're two very different ways of handling the situation. And I have not flown with a firearm, so I really don't have any input on that.
I mean, it's definitely different. They both have the same thing in common. You're going to a destination, so you want to make sure if your CCW is going to work there or not. And then depending on where you're going or what you're doing, what kind of firearms you're going to be requiring there, right? So what you're going to carry, and then what you might bring for recreational or other stuff. And then I imagine that part of it's going to be similar. And you've got resources like the online stuff we've talked about, the online.
Yep, like USA Carry and the other websites that are similar.
Yep. Then there's apps that'll let you plug in what CCWs you have, and they'll usually be current on their reciprocity, let you know what kind of issues you may or may not have, either in a car, like in the states between you and there. Or
same with flying though too, for your layover.
Yeah, exactly. On the way to there. And then I think once you're talking about actually the mode though, in the car, obviously you have the situation where you're going to be carrying it probably, except for a couple of states where you may have to stow it for travel through the state. And then in the flying, you're going to be pretty much consistently putting it into a locked, strong side, lockable box inside of a bag. You're going to have to go through a little different procedure when you check in your luggage. You'll have to stand around waiting for whoever they call them to come over.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not really. And then basically your luggage just gets checked when you pick it up at the other end. I usually try to, as soon as I get to the rental place, the rental car or something, usually that's the easiest place to verify everything's good to go. But I like to check it right away. Where with my regular luggage without a gun, who cares if you're missing something? You can always go back and.
Well, and I like the way you just put that, G, because technically, you're not really going to want to check stuff at the airport, but at least, like you just said, at the rental car place or something like that, where you can have a quiet moment without, necessarily somebody looking over your shoulder or whatever, because you kind of would still rather know before you leave the general area if there is a mistake or something wrong or something happened or what have you. Then you get to wherever you're going, and then technically you're going to have to go all the way back to the airport to file a report and all this, that, and the other thing. And it does become somewhat of a hassle if you do have to file for loss or damage.
For sure.
But and again, I can't speak to the CCW aspect of this, but I can definitely speak to the traveling via plane with firearms. Much in what you said, G, it's like you got to know what's going on, where you're going, what are the particular rules. Also, if you have a layover, sure, you're probably not gonna pull your stuff out of the bags and or have that long of a layover where you're going to leave the airport. I mean, sometimes if you have like a half a day or an 18-hour layover or something just ridiculous, then you might not leave, or you might not leave your baggage at the airport. Because they have sometimes the lockers or the checked areas that you can leave it and leave the airport in general. So I know we've discussed in the past before about what happened to the person in New Jersey, where it was their layover. The layover got either extended or the flight got canceled. The person then proceeded to take their firearm still in the luggage or what have you, but since they were longer in the area than previously expected, if he would have left it in the airport in the checked luggage area or like locked there, apparently it would have not been an issue. But this person then got I don't remember if they got necessarily arrested or just ticketed, and I think they got arrested for it, for their carry their carry firearm, excuse me. So definitely know not just where you're going, but what you're going through. Much like you said for driving, it's very important because there's random sobriety checkpoints. Sometimes there's just, I think somebody gave me an example one time of their blinker was not on long enough in a certain state of Oklahoma, and that was the reason that they got pulled over. So, I mean...
Oh, you're talking about Bob.
Yeah.
On guns. Yeah, he got pulled over. He was telling me about getting pulled over the previous time he drove up there for that big Wanamaker show from Arizona, and how he got pulled over just as soon as he hit Oklahoma, basically from Texas, for, I forget exactly, maybe it was having his blinker on not long enough before he was about to change lanes in traffic. So they pulled him over for that and gave him a ticket, I think. And then as he was telling me that story, he got pulled over for having his blinker on too long. And they literally pulled him over, came up, find out what we were doing. This time they just gave him one of those warnings or whatever. So I was sitting in the passenger seat. I Instagrammed a picture of the review mirror in the cop car back there. And from that, people were telling us that that's their interstate drug task force or whatever. And anytime a rental car comes from basically Tucson, right, or New Mexico or wherever the hell south, through that area, they'll pull them over just to feel them out, see what's up,
just to see what's going on.
Yeah. So good or bad, I guess.
So, I mean, you may think you're driving just fine and everything, and that was what I guess what I was trying to get at is, man, you don't know why they're going to pull you over. Your car may match a description.
There for that or whatever, or that's one of their enforcement zones. You'd never know that, I don't think.
But there is supposed to be a reason.
Well, that is kind of a reason.
Wow.
If they can say that you're not doing everything 100% traffic laws,
yes, exactly.
Drives 100%.
Or if your car matches the description of a vehicle they're looking for, that's a reason.
Yep. Yeah, and that you can't have any control over either.
Yeah.
So that's the point, is that just because,
if anything, that's the most important part of the whole traveling with firearms, if you ask me, is the level of trouble that one can get into can be of a permanent level potentially for less than no reason, even though there is a reason. So just always try and be aware of what the rules are, of where you're going through. Again, round counts, that might be another one. You might think it sounds silly, but there's going to be states where they have different magazine restrictions. And if you were there with a 30-round magazine, perhaps for your rifle, or over a 10-round magazine, perhaps for your handgun, I believe each item is an additional charge, so to speak, when it comes to stuff like that. So, and again, it probably actually changes state to state for a level of what trouble you're getting into.
Yeah, that's something to be aware of. I don't think there's too many, there's not like New Mexico has a crazy law in the middle of other states that are huge. That's mostly out east, and then California maybe. But
well, see, that's the thing. I'm always traveling through California, so that's why I got to be mindful.
Sure, and that's something that, like you're saying, you gotta when you're traveling to a place, know the laws where you're going and then the states in between or whatever. But I don't know. I think that that's something to be aware of for sure.
It should not prohibit you from doing it, though, either. I will also say that as I said at the beginning when we were talking about this, I find that actually traveling currently, I don't know if things are going to change with this last thing that just happened, but currently, it's really not that difficult to travel with your firearms. It's basically you're paying for another checked bag, if unless you're, of course, first class or you don't have to pay for baggage. But it's literally the same cost as long as it's not an oversized or overweighted bag. And that's if you actually bring like a rifle case or something, like what G said. If it's like the little gun safe thing or whatever that you can actually put in your bag already, it's not even an extra charge for that. So
let's get back to that. So that's what we're kind of talking about. So traveling, I use the same lockbox for both. It's just that Gun Vault or something, little piece of sheet metal thing from China with some spray paint on it that is kind of like a metal clamshell. It's got
and almost like a bicycle lock.
Yeah, it's got it's basically, it's a pretty crappy lock. I mean, it's definitely not high security, but it's theft proof. It's theft
resistant.
Yeah. We do have
we'll be back.
An interesting question out in the chat from Matt.
It's got that wire on it with like a rubber coating, so you can strap it to your car seat or the trunk or somehow into the frame of the vehicle, and then you can I use the same cable to strap it to the frame of the suitcase that it's in when it's going through the airport, and then wherever I'm at as far as traveling to, you've got pipes and closet rods and different things that are permanent in a hotel room that you can use that strap thing to, again, keep it from just getting taken completely out of the room.
You go, Dano.
Okay. Do you see the question in the chat from Matt in regards to traveling with an NFA item? If not, I'll just go ahead and read it.
Go for it.
I do have kind of a question. So say if you live in Maine and you have a silencer and you're moving, say, South Carolina, other than having to tell the ATF, could you travel through states that don't allow NFA items just as long as you pass through, or would you have to mail it to a new location if you had to drive? I'm assuming by mail it he means via FFL. But I don't know.
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know either. That would be something that we need to have either an NFA type of attorney, somebody that deals with those kind of particularities. I don't know if even the ATF themselves would answer a question like that. That's something usually you have to send, and then they'll do research and give you an official answer.
Nice, and he did stipulate, FFL.
Yeah.
Back to your clamshell thing, though, G, I would also agree that sometimes it's just good to be able to take those in general. I'll use mine as kind of like a little mini safe when I'm traveling. They're pretty handy.
Yeah, like for a phone or memory sticks or a wallet or just extra cards and stuff.
Something that I don't want the kids to necessarily just be able to get right into, because sometimes they do go through uncle's bags.
Because you know what? They will plug that DVD in.
Yes, they will. I usually don't carry those, but anyway.
Well, I don't know how much deeper we're going to go just to keep time-wise. I think we might as well move along. The idea of our segments isn't to delve in and give you 100% of everything, but instead to spark conversation for the live chats that happen over on Gun Channels, or if you're the type to create videos on YouTube or blog posts or your own podcast or something to give you some ideas of things to talk about. So with that, we'll move into the next segment.
Just one final thing on that, G, if I may. I would just like to address the panel on this. Is the three of us have traveled with firearms, correct?
Yes.
Yes. We may not have traveled with firearms.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. So I guess what I would like to ask is, at any point, did anything happen to you as a personal experience where you would choose not to travel with your firearms? And I would say no for me.
I was in Washington, D.C. visiting family on 9/11. So I woke up to watch all that shit happening. And then it was weird because it was happening. So you know, looking back on it, it seems like more dire, more consequential. But when it was happening, it was definitely eerie. And then driving over and looking at the Pentagon or whatever, and I had made the decision because my idiot family is a bunch of idiots. They didn't want me to bring guns over there, and I knew that things were tedious as far as gun laws, so I didn't bring any guns with me. So I got to drive home from DC without any guns at all, and that is why I'll never travel without firearms again.
Okay, so that's even the other way. It's not a no, I wouldn't. It's a I will never not.
Correct.
Okay, I gotcha.
I've up in every other road trip I've ever taken, I have at least a shotgun and usually something for recreational. I never really worried about a CCW because I was a kid and I didn't worry about it. It was easier just to have a shotgun and maybe a couple of 22s or a rifle or something, just for playing around and shooting and maybe going hunting or something. But so I just always had those kind of guns. This trip I didn't, and that's like the only one and the last time I'll ever do a road trip without a gun.
Thanks, G. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that around to reassure anybody out there is, yes, make sure you're aware of the rules, but don't be afraid, I guess. Is what I wanted to leave it with. Don't be scared.
Yeah, you can never really know when you're going to need them. So, and they're really not that much of a nuisance, any different than the nuisance they are every single day. So just make a little bit more aware and being aware of a little bit more when you travel.
Like doing anything new that has serious consequences, you just have to make sure you do your due diligence and research.
Well, a lot of times you think about just, okay, well, I'm only going on a vacation. But if you're going to a vacation to a place where so many people go unarmed that it's basically attracting the people that are doing the petty stuff, then I wouldn't want to get thrown into that situation.
Mm-hmm.
When there's an option, because most of the time you go to Florida or something, there's an option.
Yep.
That'd be an interesting topic. Maybe do you choose Florida or how many people choose Florida over California based on the firearms laws?
Or even better, who chooses Florida over Hawaii even?
Well, that's a little bit different because I was just thinking of the Disneyland and the other like family type of things, and they're also the similar cost, I would think, if you're somewhere in the country. Hawaii is
truly
expensive.
Hawaii is much more expensive than Florida. So Florida is usually considered the I don't want to say the poor man's, but the less expensive vacation versus the vacation of a lifetime.
Oh, I don't know, man. You can rack up a tab with your family going to Orlando or Miami. You
for sure.
You can.
Hawaii, it's times your airfare out there. So like Dan was saying that.
And the hotels are more expensive here too.
So, and you don't have to stay on Disney property. I mean,
right.
There's all sorts
but anyway,
of
it's a rabbit hole.
We went way off the guide. Okay. So we're going to head into the entertainment segment. Today we're talking about heroes who are authors. Before we jump into that segment, though, between the first and second segment of the show, every day we like to pause and feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built a while back. It's a community focused on firearms. There's all kinds of things to do there. Not very many ads. In fact, there's no ads because it's completely run by its membership. So thanks to everybody who makes Gun Channels what it is. And today we're featuring Tony, one of the hosts at Early Watch, and good guy. He's again just one of the people that is doing a little bit more than just being an audience. He's being an active participant in the discussions, and all the way up to the point where he's helping Jimmy out with hosting the Early Watch show, which is a massive ordeal, 6 hours every morning. They've been doing it pretty much all the time too, with the help of Night Strike and others, but it's a team effort. And I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. As we move our time slot back a ways, hopefully we'll be able to jump in. At least some of us will be able to jump in and help out with that project as well. And then anyway, so Tony's inspiring me to see something like that, a 6-hour show every week, 30 hours a week, exist from efforts like people like him. So anyway, that's what we're trying to feature over there, or that's what we're trying to create a place for, is people like Tony. So thanks, Tony.
Yep, and it's, he was in active in Gun Channels before the early show, and I think the early show just fit, time wise, in his current life, very well, and it's kind of found his his niche, so to speak.
We're talking about Tony York, right?
Yep, from Illinois.
Yep. Good guy.
Yep, absolutely. So,
All right. So that'll take us into the entertainment segment of the show. Authors who are heroes. Now, I didn't do a lot of research on this one. I figured we'd wing it, but
Well, I mean, okay, so you've already mentioned him in other chats. I'm talking like Marcinko. I'm talking like the guy from Black Hawk Down who had his back broke but wrote a book about it. I'm talking about like Sullenberger, the guy who landed the plane. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, like hero authors, like somebody that has gone through something, and maybe they're telling this, whether they're telling the story of their, heroicness or whatever, or if it's just even them as an author.
So you're saying my Tom Clancy doesn't count?
Well, do you consider Tom Clancy to have done anything heroic?
A hell of a lot of research.
Okay, that did not answer the question, but okay. And it's not a judgment of good authors, bad authors, because technically a hero author could still technically write a terrible book. I mean, technically.
well, let's start off then with some. So I've got the Gun Channels book club open, so we can put some of these entries into the book club right away. And that's just a channel over on Gun Channels. If you go up to the top of any page over on Gun Channels, there's just a couple of headings at the top. One of them is media, and that's where we archive. One of the attempts at Gun Channels is to archive all the various firearms-related media. So one of those types would be books. I've got that channel open so that we can post some of the books and authors that we're talking about. We started off with Marcinko. So in case people don't know, I think he's a cool dude. I first read Rogue Warrior. Have you read that one, Z?
I have not, but it is on the list.
So when I was a kid, I was used to drive back and forth between Arizona and back home, and I would listen to audio tapes. And I just went to the used bookstore and saw this one. It had an interesting cover. This dude with a big beard, and says an explosive autobiography of the controversial, death-defying founder of the U.S. Navy SEALs top secret counter-terrorist unit, SEAL Team 6. And that was probably back in the 90s when I first read it or listened to it. And it's narrated by the man himself. And he's a sailor and a SEAL. So he swears like that. And it's just fun to listen to because he doesn't hold any punches or anything. And basically his story is that he was a kid during Nam. He enlisted and wanted to kill communists. So he went in as a UDT, the beginning of the SEALs. And basically he was a little unorthodox. So he figured out after various exploits over in Vietnam that if he would tell his commanders, I'm going to go do something unless you tell me otherwise, that let him do pretty much anything he wanted. So instead of waiting around for intelligence or somebody else to tell him what needed to be done, he made himself available for those times, but he would also just kind of go rogue and send himself out on missions and take care of business. They would walk without shoes. They would carry AK-47s and kind of fuck with the Vietnamese that way. So he became much wanted by the North Vietnamese and much appreciated by the American, let's say, the beginnings of the whatever you call them, SEALs and Green Berets and all that were being created.
Unconventional warfare?
Unconventional warfare guys. So when he came back, they asked him to he was a SEAL. He went through that. And when they got to a point where the Secretary of the Navy wanted somebody to basically go at a off the books so that they weren't under any kind of chain of command. He wanted somebody to test the readiness of our nuclear deterrent or our nuclear defense deterrent, basically to see if our nuclear subs were okay. So he basically tasked the Marcinko with going in and trying to get to our subs, our nuclear subs. And he tested the security of our various bases and stuff. So that was called Red Cell. He did that for a long time. And then when there was the unfortunate issue with Desert One over in the 80s. The Navy decided, like all the other branches, basically, the Army didn't do it right. Let's make our own counterterrorists, and that's when they created SEAL Team 6. So when the time came for the Navy to decide to do their own counterterrorists and create SEAL Team 6, he was the one who was tasked with doing that. So the book goes into a little bit of all of that, and then Red Cell goes into the Red Cell part of it more in depth, and then some of his other books go into the various other parts of his life more in depth. But he writes really well. He works with a guy named John Wiseman, who I guess is his ghostwriter or whatever, but gets the words across well. And since he authored, or he, what do you call it, narrates the books, it's him talking. It's just a whole nother level when you hear the guy talking about his own stories and stuff. So that's definitely the one I would start with. And if you haven't listened to any of his stuff before, it's interesting enough, even if you're not a Navy guy, to you understand. I mean, it's all stuff that's real, so it's stuff that you're aware of. It's all really interesting, and then, like I say, written well. And I would recommend the audio version so you can hear him say it.
Well, and I was also thinking of Chris Kyle, like American Sniper, for as examples of this. And I'm not 100% sure, but doesn't Carlos Hathcock have a book as well, or is he just the subject of the book?
I don't know if he ever wrote his own book, but John, somebody else, wrote the Sniper book.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy I've shook his hand before. He's been at SHOT Show for a long time. The plasterer.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but a guy that's been on this program with us, G, is one of these hero authors. Your guy.
Operation.
No, not even. I mean, the wide receiver guy, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the guy that was in the Berlin Brigade. That guy.
Oh, Dan Southard?
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever written a book. People
Really?
have urged him to. I think he's written, but I don't know if it's ever been published. I know he's written articles and things.
Well, technically, you can be an author of an article. Technically.
Well, yeah, but if we're talking like a book or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, that would be an interesting one. John Plasterer is the one I was thinking of, who wrote, what's the name of the book? The Ultimate Sniper. And he was, I guess, a disciple, you could say, of Hathcock.
Okay.
Or a peer. And anyway, he would always, I think he was there for years and years and years at SHOT. He might still be at SHOT. I just don't see him so much anymore. But he would always be like predominantly on one of the main intersections with his kind of little, what do they call it, where you have like a counter there with your books and you would sign them for people. He was always just a part of somebody, maybe an ammo manufacturer's booth or somebody, rifle manufacturers, depending on the year. But
well, because think about it, he's going to draw people for the book, but he's going to draw people to their booth,
right? And I think
as well, right?
Yeah, like a honor to have them sitting at your booth, I would think.
Like it's a celebrity at your booth, I'd agree with that, Nice. We do have some being mentioned out there in the chat, and again, I'm not sure if necessarily these are hero authors as much as they're stories about the guys. Like the one where I think he says Eric Blem, which is Fearless, SEAL Team 6 operator Anna Brown. Also Gary Williams, SEAL of Honor. It's about Lieutenant Michael Murphy. Oh, okay, yeah. And then Leo Jenkins, lest we forget, Ranger Medic. So again, I'm not sure if necessarily this is exactly what we're talking about, but it is to the heart very similar to what I was thinking when I mentioned this is an entertainment topic. Is that we do talk about books or and stuff like that from time to time. We usually talk about movies for the most part, or firearms in movies of specific types. So I just kind of wanted to bring it back around to, the people that we tell stories about, or the people that get to tell their story, and usually what a story it is.
Yeah, we're not getting many on the YouTube side, but we did get quite a few on the Gun Channel side. So I'm throwing those into Amazon. So we'll put a link to them all in the channel there and in the description of the video.
Okay. All right. That's right. It's time for the tactical pop quiz of the day. And first, I want to throw out a big giant thank you out there to Dead Horse for filling me up with a fistful of questions. And of course, I've already laid down the challenge to a couple others out there to hand those questions over. Please send them to dailygunshow@gmail.com. Question, answer, and the source. Greatly appreciated and very much needed. So, my officials see the answer, and are you prepared?
Yeah.
Okay. So those of you on YouTube, make sure you got your cursor down below and are ready to type. And same thing for over at Gun Channels, because the question is as follows. What is the military designation for the SR-25? What is the military designation for the SR-25?
I mean, I don't know that the answer is right, but I do see the answer that you have. Just saying. And apparently everybody's Google is broken today. I believe the M110 is wrong. I believe that Tony is correct on the YouTube side. Judge?
I'm going to go with Tony.
Okay.
Tony.
Artisan Tony. And then now all of a sudden right answers are finally coming on the Gun Channel side, but it's too little too late.
United States Navy Mark II. So congratulations, Artisan Tony. You are the tactical pop quiz winner for today. I'm sure you've heard it before, but I'll say it again. Head on over to dailygunshow.com/pop quiz. Fill out the form, put your first, second, and can anybody hear me talk? And fill out the form.
Congratulations. Now, what were you trying to say, G?
That's on the YouTube side?
Yeah, Artisan Tony. Yep. So congratulations, Artisan Tony. Welcome back to the winner's circle, my friend. Way to get through the midweek hump day. That makes you the tactical pop quiz hot shot for today. So great job.
Now, Tony, if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, you may have missed an update on the patches, as they were all caught up as of yesterday, sent out. So if you were behind a little bit on something you may have won, it should be in the mail.
And yes, there are a couple of comments. So is it now? I believe Tony wrote it correctly because that's the Mark 11, as opposed to the Mark II, which is the Mod 2.
Correct.
Okay. So just to relay that Tony did actually have it correct, because there's questions coming up for the way the answer was stated. So it's all cleared up. It's all good.
And as Bob likes to say, suck it
up, buttercup.
All right, so we send people over to the Tactical Pop Quiz page over on our website, dailygunshow.com, and we have a patch panel there with a bunch of patches that either we made ourselves here in Tucson that are made from our designs or are given to us, or some of them that we went out and bought at gun shows and things. So we have this patch panel, and it changes quite a bit. We just posted the new picture this morning, so this one's up to date. And like I said, we just sent out, I think, about 15, well, less than that, but somewhere around 10 or something, probably going to tactical winners, tactical pop quiz winners. So thanks everybody for their patience on that with SHOT Show and everything that got behind. But going forward, we'll keep the thing probably every weekend, and that way we'll keep the show updates current and the patch panel picture current. And we'll like to see a lot more patches coming in. We do have Marco and Pink went out and grabbed a bunch of patches and whatnot from SHOT Show. So hopefully we'll see some new ones coming in from people donating to the panel.
And once again, please send your questions with bona fide answers to dailygunshow@gmail.com because we need the questions.
All right. So then we'll go into, well, we got the tactile quiz coming up, and then we've got our daily stuff. So, geez, video barn. What does that mean for the gun shop?
Well, let's see. You have a boatload, or as I like to say, a barn full of gun videos. So I refer to your channel as the video barn for guns.
Yeah, but that says gun shop.
Yeah, well, but he's going to get a video. Oh, you're right. I put that in the wrong category.
No worries. So I think I'm going to, oops, if I can type and talk at the same time, go to that same source. Oh, I don't have a W. That's why it's so difficult.
Yeah, the well's not dry, man.
Frustrating. So eventually boogie over to Gun Website's YouTube channel, and we'll grab a, there must be a video or gun shop review over there. Making it so.
Yes, just to keep the ball rolling, I'm sure that whether it was through the loophole tour segment that you took to the West Coast or some of the stuff when you went through New Mexico, or I imagine that you must have plenty of different material, let alone when you did your 2012 trip, which was huge, countrywide, you might even say, nationwide.
Yeah, I didn't post too many videos from that trip, but I do plan on going back with some of the photos and doing videos of those, and then that way people can let us know if the shops have changed much, because those will be...
What's the deal with Sprague's?
Sprague, this one here.
Yep.
So this one was in Yuma, and right on the border with California and Arizona, right where the international border of Mexico is. So this is a pretty big shop. You can see it's a big giant metal building. This whole section of the shop on their west side, basically the California side, is the gun range. So there's a multiple lane indoor range there. I think at the end of the video, you'll see a little bit of it. The rest of it, though, is this giant metal building. Keep in mind this little door over here. We'll see that on the inside with the safes and the kind of cool NFA looking-ish room. But most of this is just one big ass room. So I don't know if I go inside on this video or not. No, I just look around the outside. So there you go. That's the outside of it. But we must have a video of or some pictures of it somewhere on the web. They have shitty pictures on the web, it looks like.
Well, I was just wondering, when you went in, and this was probably just during your last West Coast trip-ish, right? Either on the way there or on the way back, right? It was around that time-ish.
On the way out to California, so yeah.
Like, I'm not going to ask about windbreakers and stuff, but how long is it going to take that dude to polish that floor?
Polish the floor?
Well, you said how big it was on the inside.
Seriously, though, they probably do have a fairly large... I don't have any pictures up, so yeah, horrible. But their pictures are shitty too, so we don't get many good pictures of it. I know I have pictures of it somewhere. I know we've shared them before, but it's got a pretty big showroom. I'd say it's as big as a Popular used to be. I don't know if you've ever been to a Popular outdoor. They're a little smaller. Well, they're smaller than a Kmart. They're a little smaller.
I have not. But it looked like it was like a small Cabela's or Bass Pro, or a tiny one, or like a Sportsman's Warehouse, maybe.
Yeah, it's like a small Sportsman's Warehouse, a single floor, but definitely one of the largest, or one of the largest personal or independent gun shops you'll see. And I guess most of it has to do with the bird shooting. So a lot of pheasants and what do you call them, upland birds, to shoot in the giant fields and deserts around that area. So
delicious is what I call them. Delicious.
Must be. It brings in tons of people. I guess it increases the size of the town, kind of thing. And if this is an indication of the amount of shotguns they had there, and it is, then yeah, it's a lot.
Well, and the infrequency of places for upland bird hunting, as opposed to like waterfowl or turkey or something like that. If that's something, whether it's grouse or partridge or quail, or like you're saying with pheasant, like if it's an area that actually has it enough where you can get an out of state license and come there, because there's enough resource, it's big business. It's huge business.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm not so much aware of, but it was definitely impressive, and there's nothing you can't deny it. It's a huge portion of their store, and their store is huge. I don't know what they grow out there, cotton or something, some kind of fields that are.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, because it's probably not corn and not soy, because it's probably too hot
Dry.
or something for that, too dry.
Yeah, and really, I mean, I know there's a lot of little stuff going on out there. Maybe it's just because there's so many fields, and it's like you say, it's well, it's in the middle of the desert, so these birds are kind of kept captive there. Anyway,
Anything else on the gun shop?
Nope, that's our gun shop for the day. We like to feature a shop every day, so if you've got one you'd like to feature, remember you've got a phone in your pocket all the time, probably got a pretty good camera on there. It's easy enough to take a couple of pictures, send them in to us, and we'll be happy to let people know about interesting and unique shops. We'll have to schedule them out here for the rest of the week because we won't wing them, but I've got the show scheduled out through most of the rest of the month, and we've got daily ones lined up for all of that. But anytime you'd like to feature a shop, we'll remind everybody that's really a feature of the show, the reason we do the show daily. So we really are looking forward to having people contribute their shops to the list.
Were you saying that there was potential, if not this month, but in the next coming, that or maybe another one from the Copper Star, perhaps with Dusty, or was that just in passing?
I'm trying to, later on today, I'm going to go try to beg money to jump on a couple of vans. I've been paying attention to some school vans again, and there's a couple of 3 or 4 of them that are coming up that are really nice looking, and I'm hoping to put less money down on the new vans than I would be on getting the current one fixed. So if I can make that happen, then yeah, I'm hoping to be able to meet up with Bob in Vegas when he comes back down and have that correlate with a ammunition show, like a dedicated show to ammunition collectors that's happening in Prescott later on this month. And then potentially going with Bob back to Salt Lake City to hang out with Dead Horse and do some more in-depth touring of the Browning stuff there, and then mosey our way back and either hit some stuff in Vegas or other spots along the way. But if I can get a van that's up and running for all that, potentially we'd have all that kind of stuff happening here in the coming upcoming shows.
Okay, so
Well, that's excellent. And see, that just happens to be how Daily Gun Show keeps evolving and changing and adapting and overcoming any obstacles in our way.
Well, at least trying to make ourselves open for these kind of things. So to answer your question, yeah, if that happens, then that's basically hours away from each other. So if we have to get up to Prescott for this gun show anyway, it would just be a hour or so detour to head over to Copper Star. And I'm sure Bob would like to pull the trigger on that thing.
Man, it'd be nice if like it tied in, and of course, I'm in my head on this one, but like if it was like the birthday of Milius or the birthday of Swayze or the anniversary of Red Dawn, or just some other additional reason just to make it extra super special.
Right on. The anniversary of Red Dawn is until October, if I'm right. So we've got a while for that one. But some of those others, I'm not sure when those are. So that might be something to look into. Speaking of that, though, I don't know. We talked about it, I think, in the middle of the night with Smeggy. I don't know if you were around to hear all this, but I was poking around the sites on, I don't know how we got to it, but I was poking around the sites that have the filming locations for Red Dawn. And we were able to narrow down another filming location. That
Oh, because you were listening to Milius and he said it. It was something about the behind the scenes or whatever, and it was right after you had talked about Leah Thompson getting.
no, it wasn't Milius. It was what's his face. Not what the hell is his name? The kid whose hate keeps them warm.
Oh, C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah, it was that guy's character. Well, that guy said it about that.
Robert or whatever, I think.
Robert. Yeah, thanks. So yeah. So anyway, there is some new goals for Red Dawn stuff for this year. Anyhow, so should we do the movie of the day? Where are we at with time? Yeah, let's do the movie of the day and then do the tackle quiz for a bit.
Yep.
So we try to hit a movie every day that's worth watching. If you're a kid and hadn't seen movies before, it's a good part of the show, so you figure out what to watch. Or if you're an old timer and you haven't seen stuff in a while, we try to remind you of stuff. I don't know if this really counts or not, but we're talking about a cartoon this time. The Star Wars cartoon, The Clone Wars. I don't know if Daniel's seen this one.
Well, the cartoon I didn't see, but there was one of the movies that did, I thought.
Yeah, number 2 was Clone Wars.
Oh, is that what we're talking about? I thought we were talking about the cartoon.
Let's see.
Now, there was
I didn't.
Cartoon that featured the clones.
I didn't put the movie in there, so I don't know. But there was a lot of gunplay in the second Star Wars movie.
Well, does anybody like the second Star Wars movie?
Out of the 3, I probably like that one the most, I think. Because there were space battles. Anakin Skywalker was...
Well, now you spoiled it.
Well, okay, yeah. And the movie's 10 years old, so if you haven't seen it, sorry. But yeah, there was more action. You got to see Yoda CG kick a lot of ass in this movie. You kind of got to see how when the stormtroopers used to be good shots, but when they were actually clones as opposed to what they became after the fact.
You know, and that part was never really well explained as far as how they degenerated into they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
Because they were no longer the clones. They were regular people.
Well, then what? But they didn't kill off all the clones. They still had that technology and ability.
The majority of the clones were starting to be dead by the 3rd movie because they had already been through the Clone Wars and then into the 3rd movie when they tried to kill the Jedis off. And then at the beginning of number 4, they were already starting to be regular people because they didn't all have the same voice.
Well, that's true.
And that's right. The clones did age really quickly as well.
But yeah, they did really have them go through like a hyper growth into a young adult very quickly, and then kind of.
And he does kind of have a point. So by the time of New Hope, they would almost be like 80. So yeah, I definitely gotcha. And there you go. And there you go. Also, somebody angry's out. The clones were bred to shoot, but when the Empire became big, it needed more troops and recruited instead of cloning. Because, of course, that would be less expensive. And I don't know that they were able to pay for the clone army as they did back in the first 3.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say in future economics, but clones don't ask for pay. They do as they're told.
Well, you got to buy them from those weird-looking alien
The people that made them, exactly.
Well, that's true.
Unless they just go steal them. I don't know why they just don't take them.
No, they paid for them.
Well, they're the Empire. So why would they just take them?
But, and, that was not really so much to do with the Trade Federation, but I think that was part of the money came from for the droid army and the separatists. And so, there was a lot of stuff going on in that movie that, some people don't like it. I found it entertaining. And, again, I liked it better than the other 2, other than the very, very end of Sith, Revenge of the Sith. Number 3, where the guy gets the black suit and goes, "No!"
Well, I want to go back and give that one, I guess, 2 thumbs up because it's Star Wars, even though everybody hates those movies, and then call that cartoon also 2 thumbs up because that's what I thought we were
Well,
talking.
if you remember, G, like Star Wars 2 was definitely like the military movie, so to speak. Because if you remember, there was more their group tactics.
Right.
There was
Rather than-
definitely choppering and dropping people off. You know, almost like Rogue One was kind of, somewhat of a hardcore military movie at some point with small unit tactics and stuff like that. I definitely saw some of that happening more battlefield wide in the Clone Wars.
Right. Like, large, medium scale infantry maneuvers.
Yep.
So I enjoyed it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'll give it 2 thumbs up. Again, I will probably say that it is my most favorite of the first of the. I wasn't say of the first 3, but that's not the right way to say it.
Well,
Of
you always
the
have to say-
of 1, 2, and 3, yes, I like number 2.
Well, even when people say 1, 2, and 3, I always get confused. It's like, you mean in the sequence they came out, or in where they belong in the series? Because
Yeah.
they screwed me up, and I'm just always confused when it comes.
If
to
I'm
that.
ever mentioning the original 3, I'm usually calling them out by name as opposed to number.
Yeah.
Usually. But I think
So
we're all in
somebody just
agreement on
says,
that.
the second Star Wars to me, I'm thinking Empire Strikes Back.
Yep. That's usually what I'm thinking too.
But
Right.
Very good movie, very well worth your time to check it out if you're either into sci-fi or just into battle scenes. Shoot 'em
So
ups.
since we're talking about these first 3, the second 3, the suckiest of the 3s, then there's a thing called the anti-cheese edit, I think, off of YouTube, and I highly recommend go watch them that way. So it gets rid of all the stupid stuff like the aliens that
The
have
racism.
accents and stuff, and Jar Jar Binks completely. And it's just a re-edit where they just remove, I forget, 5 to 10 minutes or something of the movies, and then they do subtle things like give you subtitles for aliens, and they just make weird clicking noises like an alien should make. And then it just makes it way less distracting, and there's no Jar Jar crap and the little kid crap and just the garbage that they put in there to sell toys, I guess. And it makes the
Hey,
movies
now.
just as interesting, and you get the same from them. It's just that it makes it a lot more. I like it a lot more to watch. I think they're called.
Were you the wrong age when the first ones came out, G, and that you didn't care that it was about toys because that just meant that there were extra cool toys coming out, or what are you saying? Are you that much older than me where you that didn't work for you?
No, I was right in the middle of the Star Wars toys.
Okay.
I didn't
By the
get
time
nor
Jedi
want
came
any of the
out, we were
toys. I
too
was
old for 'em.
17 and looking for chicks.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Dano's older than both of us.
But
By the time
but
Jedi
I
came
loved
out, I
the
wasn't
movie
caring. I
because
didn't
I've
care about-
always loved science fiction.
I didn't care at all about the toys by the time Jedi came out, but for Star Wars, I was right at the right age. I forget how old I was, but I was definitely right in the middle of the target age for that. And then Empire a little bit, but I was basically getting a little bit older. And then, but I definitely didn't appreciate Ewoks and stuff. I mean, even when I was a little kid, I wasn't looking for.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. See, I'm just a little bit younger than you, so I was even more like right at the prime, pretty much, where Star Wars blew my New Hope blew my mind. Oh my God, this is great. These toys are awesome. Empire Strikes Back. Oh my God, this could be the best movie I've ever seen in my entire short life. These toys are great. And then Jedi was pretty much the end of, like, I don't even know that I was really playing with Star Wars toys at that time, but I still kind of thought that kind of stuff was cool. Nice. And next,
Are you prepped or want to move on to something else for the moment?
well, and then we got a couple of comments out there. The cartoon is really good, even though the timeline between 2 and 3. Clones were trained from birth to be elite troops. Later, the shorter training. Oh, I heard it.
It's time of that week. It's that time of the week. We're going to talk about windbreakers.
Chuck
That's,
Norris and Lee Marvin.
All right, so might as well not get a strike on the account yet. So we're going to do the tactical quiz.
No.
Wait, didn't he already do a pop quiz today?
He did.
All right. So we're gonna be doing the weekly tactical quiz. One of the reasons, again, we started doing this show on the regular was to I really do want to work on having a weekly gun-related game show. Put the offer out there for somebody who's better at getting stuff made to take that and run with it. But until they do, we're going to continue to do these on Wednesday, and with the help of Patreon support and people supporting what we do online through the Gear website store, we will continue to embellish the tactical quiz along, as we have time to do so. So this week we're going to do an audio version of the quiz, and I think we keep threatening to do so. So we're going to make this one available to everybody. So we'll take the answers to this one on Friday. So don't type the answers out. You'll want to create an email, and you're going to want to address that email to our email address, which is dailygunshow@gmail.com. And feel free to do that while we're getting ready here. And we'll play 3 audio samples, and you'll give us the name of the movie that the audio samples are from.
And
so we're not responsible for any correct or wrong answers. We don't have to be responsible for any of that, G?
What?
Yes, and in the subject of that email, make sure you put Wednesday Tactical Quiz.
Yeah, you might want to put February 1st Tactical Quiz, and then we'll know that it's from today.
Yep.
So what are you saying, Z?
I'm just saying that I don't have to be responsible for watching YouTube and gun channels looking for right answers.
Oh, no.
Correct.
This all happened via the email. So
all right, yes.
The correct answers will come up on Friday. And if we have multiple correct answers, we'll do one of those random thingies.
Okay.
So I guess I am not as prepared as I thought because my other computer is lagging or doing something. Am I connected to the internet? I think I'm connected, right?
We can hear you, so you must be to some degree.
Yeah, wait for my other machine to realize that it is also connected.
I can quickly do gun channels today if you want a minute or two.
Well, why don't we do the gun of the day or something, and I'll let
Okay.
these things cook over here and figure out what's going on.
Well, technically, the gun of the day is out of the video barn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
it's another
we'll,
computer issue.
no, that's on this machine. So
We have gun history, though. And today, 1920, Royal Canadian Mounted Police were established.
thanks, Dan. Thanks, Bob, for telling us about that one.
Well, I didn't put it in there, but I'm assuming it happened today. I'm just wondering, like, what did they do before the 1919 when somebody did some criminal act?
I don't know that that's accurate. What did it say? The Royal Canadian Mount. There were Mounties before 1920.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I didn't put it in there. I don't know who put it in there.
Neither did I. So I'm calling shenanigans on somebody.
Somebody's been doing some off hours under the influence show planning.
Because here's the thing: 1820. I could believe 1820.
Yeah.
Wait, are you saying that fact is wrong? Because I'm pretty sure I put that fact in there whenever I was planning the shows out this month.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, how were there no Mounties before 1920, dude?
Well, that doesn't. You're the one who's creating that freaking ultimatum. Where does it say that in that little factoid? Just because they officially became something, maybe they were a bunch of county level ones or something. I don't know.
Well, that's true. Maybe they just changed their name and the way they were structured.
Yeah, maybe they were something else before that.
And maybe we're just making excuses for wrong answers.
And we're killing
Maybe.
time for somebody to
Maybe.
have their computer speed up.
Yeah.
I don't know what's
But it
going on.
was the Uniroyal Canadian Mounted Police. Now it's the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
There you go.
Uniroyal was something else.
Is that really what it is? Dang, is that the email? Damn it.
Man, I just remember the RCMP, the Mounties. You know, that's a
Yes.
thing.
And I remember it just as a boy from the cartoon.
There you go. Wait, I heard something.
Yep. I heard some twanging.
Well, I had this up a long time ago. I've been waiting for you guys to get done talking about freaking Mounties or whatever.
Okay, we're done.
So we're going to be talking about today these 50 BMGs that this is an old one because the collection's bigger than this now for sure. But This is the 50 BMG collection that I got all into. Starting back at a gun show in Las Vegas. One year after SHOT Show, we would try to hit a gun show. We always try to hit a gun show when we're up there. So one year walking through the one, I think it was at, on the south side near the airport, there was this little gun show, and some guy had an assortment about this big of different types of 50 BMG rounds, and he had them in links. And I thought that was cool as shit. That's the way he was displaying his variety that he had for sale. And I don't know if he was trying to encourage people to have an assortment type of collection like that, or if it was just a way that he came up with to display them. But I thought that was super cool. So that's what started me collecting. I think I bought 1 or 2 from him, which was all I could afford at the time. And then just started to acquire them. Most of them you can see are the red and silver. I think that's incendiary armor piercing. And I get most of those at Big Sandy when people shoot full auto at hillsides twice a year for like 3 days at a time. They don't pay very much for ammo. So I got most of the stuff fairly inexpensively, and I use it to trade for the specimen pieces. And
so what was that all black one?
that's one that came out of the desert when the airplanes that shoot 50 BMGs back in the World War II days or whenever would come in to land at Davis Moth, and they would just, when they were over the mountains, they would they would cycle their actions and empty their chambers. So those you would just find, you can still just find them out in the desert or out in the mountains, I guess. So that's just what happens when a round sits there from like the 40s and somebody picks it up in the 90s.
It turns black?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just probably dead by now, but maybe not round, and just kind of cool. And it's just probably just a plain old ball 50 BMG that they would have been shooting at trucks or something out of their airplanes with when they were training out here.
Very cool. Very, very, very cool.
So the coolest one in here would be the Rufus. I don't know if I have. Yeah, I guess I do have the Rufus in this collection here. So if I get my damn hand out of the way, this Rufus is the one that's designed to hit with a piece of some, what is it, cordite or some kind of explosive in there. I forget now. It's supposed to hit with the same impact as a 20. So that's pretty neat, and it's the most amount of explosive you're allowed to own without a license or
Separate
whatever.
permit, yeah.
And then this is a dim tracer. This is an IR tracer that would have been put in the belt with it. So the guy I know that gave me this one, I know where it came out of, and this was one of the ones that came with it, knocked out of its belt. It's kind of neat. And then there's videos on all of them out there. And
Those
like I said,
cases got a pretty good shine on them still, too. I'm looking. Those are relatively newer rounds, it looks like, or at least they were stored differently.
oh no, yeah, they're way new. I forget what the head stamps are, but
Either in the past or semi-currently, what do you think the ones with cordite in them cost per round?
$100 ish.
Wow.
And then
That's what I was going to say.
I've seen people that have like I have seen people that have like boxes of them. I mean, I know that the Wooden collection has a shit ton, but he has them in a collection. But I've seen people that there's a shop in New Mexico that just has a ton of them. Somebody got them from somewhere, and then the store acquired the collection. And he just has them all sitting there. So there's definitely big.
Matt in the chat has a question. What is the short one? Looks like it's just to the left of the IR one.
Yeah, it's for some kind of a cannon. So they load up this round with a 50 BMG cartridge or projectile, and then in a shortened cartridge that whenever you shoot this out of the little rifle that's attached to the cannon, there's like a sight on top of the cannon, and there's a rifle attached to the sight. When you shoot this, it shoots in the same trajectory as the cannon round will. So that's how they spot the cannon. They shoot a 50 BMG round, and it's an incendiary tracer. So it shoots a tracer out and then explodes when it hits there so that they can see it. It's an observation round. So it's a lot like, well, there's a whole bunch of things where they'll tune a round to shoot at the same trajectory as the really expensive ordnance or munition. And then that way they can.
Oh, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So those are kind of neat, and they're really easy to obtain. I got them at Big Sandy. They have them by the ammo can. And then I guess I'm also missing people will take that projectile out, put it in a full-size case, and I need to get a sample of that because all I have is the actual, what do they call it? Trajectory round or spotter round. But this isn't nothing. I mean, I used to think I had a neat collection, but obviously I've hung out with the Wooden Lambs now, so this isn't even a slice of a drawer of the amount of variety of 50 there are. There's a ton. So it's a super fun one to collect. Highly encourage people to collect it. It's huge. So it's super fun to have around, and everybody enjoys looking at them. They're really fun. They're not that expensive. Most of these cost like less than $5 a piece.
Nice.
So that's the gun of the day. We try to feature a gun every day. Bob's not here anymore, so we have to keep the tradition going. And we were talking about it. We try to use some of the videos over on the gun website's channel to explore some of the gun of the day type of stuff. So I don't know what's going on with this machine. I'm going to try to kill the pages and let them reload, and we'll go into segments.
If need be, we can always run that tomorrow. I mean, if it doesn't want to go.
I mean, Z's got to jump out, but it's not going to be something that we need the extra eyes on the screens.
Right.
So it'll an email one anyway. But hopefully we'll be able to figure out what's going on with my browser here, I guess.
Well, let's go to Healthy Tip then while we're waiting.
Yep. And Healthy Tip, I'll go ahead and read it since it seemed a little tied up. Do not eat, drink, or smoke while cleaning game.
Fact.
So if you shot a deer and you're cleaning it out, that's a good way to pick up all sorts of bacteria from the
Liver
animal.
flukes.
Yep.
Parasites.
Yep. I mean,
yeah, that and I like how he put eat, drink, or smoke. Whether that's a duck, a rabbit, like he said, a deer, any of those things, dude. Let alone when you're cleaning out the gut, there's potential feces and whatnot. Man, you want to have a rough time, you want to have a rough go of it. Don't follow those rules.
Yeah. Which is why normally it's also offered, meant in that sentence is to make sure you're wearing some sort of gloves.
I'll admit Grandpa didn't wear no gloves. I have to admit also that I know when I learned as a child, I don't know that we used gloves, but now I would definitely say use gloves and have gloves.
Well, there's this crazy thing they call science.
Yeah.
And it changes throughout time.
Right.
As we discover more about, animals and the animal world. I mean, it's not because it'll get you right away or every time. But if you get Giardia,
you start puking and shitting at the same time, dude, you're going to have a chance to redefine your own personal parameters of things, which are important to you.
That suddenly taking a couple of precautions seems like a pretty good idea as you're sitting there losing it from both ends.
All right, so let's go on to Gun Channels today.
All right. Today is Wednesday, and of course, on Wednesday, we always have Matt, Never Enough Ammo, holding it down every single Wednesday. And I don't think we have anybody after him tonight, but we always have a lobby going. Don't know if we have a lobby after this today, if Smeggy's going to be able to make it or not, so that's a kind of a question mark. But, of course, in the morning...
other than he already has the link up to do the chat after we're done?
Excellent. So he will be there. Hopefully, Jimmy James will be back. He's had some family stuff go on, so he was not here today. He may or may not be back tomorrow. Not sure, but hopefully he will be back soon. But the early watch is normally on 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific time in the morning. So check it out.
All right.
That is Gun Channels today.
Now I'll do this. Okay, same rules as before. There's going to be an audio version of the tactical quiz of the week, and you'll hear 3 different audio clips. You need to send us an email with the subject line of tactical quiz February 1st, And with the 3 answers, everybody who has the correct 3 answers will get randomly drawn on Friday for the winner. So without any further ado, here's the first one.
What is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you. Mentation of the women.
Could that be any lower? Could you hear that at all? Maybe with a truck by there. Could you hear that?
If you could play it a second time, just in case some people didn't catch it.
What's the volume on this work?
What is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you. You hear the lamentation of the women. That is good.
All right, so that one should be fairly obvious for everybody, but it was pretty low. Next one will be a little tougher, but hopefully the volume is louder on this one.
Great. See, this is the problem with these things. Daddy would have gotten us Uzis.
All right, could you hear that one?
Yeah, I could hear it. I mean, the first part is basically racking the machine, so to speak, or working the machine, but the audio was very clear.
Okay,
At the end.
and then this is the last one, definitely the toughest one, potentially. That one was a little tougher, but no further hints necessary. If you know those,
Yeah.
We're not giving them away, but you can put the 3 guesses or your 3 answers in an email, send them to us, and on Friday we'll figure out how many right answers there were and distribute the prizes accordingly. Tony's saying it was too easy, so there you go.
Too easy.
No worry about lag on one side or the other either.
Yep. YouTube side seems to be holding up today. So send your answers into dailygunshow@gmail.com. Put in February 1st tactical quiz so we know what it is you're responding to. And on Friday, we'll announce the winner. And if there's a tie, we'll have some sort of runoff. So any miscellaneous stuff you want to go through. I know, again, just as a reminder, next week, Daily Gun Show, changing times. Going to start at 7 Eastern in the evening, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific.
All right, I'm playing the third one again for Smeggy here. And that was the key portion of it. All right, so
And, to our Patreon supporters out there, I want to thank you for your support. It is greatly appreciated.
very much so. You're definitely making the show, taking it to a whole nother level. So we appreciate people over there. We've got 3 levels of support. The $1 level is billed once a month, or excuse me, 4 times a month, once a week. So they put down for like the $1 level, that turns out to be $4 a month. We really appreciate that. At the $3 level, which is more the $12 a month, when we charge 4 times throughout the month, that puts you in the running for a random patch of the month. We've got a patch panel over there with some limited special color design type of patches. And then we have a $5 a week, which is $20 a month level, and that's, you're getting a patch every month. I just had another phone call this morning with a shop up in Oregon that's going to be carrying our patches. So that's the 1, 2, 3, 4th store, 5th store. And I made contact with 2 others at SHOT Show. So hopefully we'll soon have our patches at 6 different stores, along with the people doing the patch of the month on Patreon with the Daily Show and over on gun websites. We'll soon be doing a PVC patch every month here, and that's taking it to a whole nother level. So we really appreciate everybody's support with that. and hopefully there'll be fun for everybody with that, and we'll continue to have special color runs and unique stuff for our Patreon people exclusively. Not to mention, we're going to start scheduling the show, doing the show prep as a Patreon show, and then the last Wednesday of the month we'll be having our Patreon show where we have feedback with our Patreon members to help give direction to the show.
All right. Any other miscellaneous things we want to talk about at this point before I go ahead and do my Bob invitation?
Yep, I think that'll be the end of 238. We'll see you back same time tomorrow, the next day, and then our new time slot next week.
All right. Every show we like to end with a quote, and today I've picked one from Samuel Adams. The Constitution shall never be construed to prevent the people of the United States, who are peaceable citizens, from keeping their own guns. And with that, thank you for listening, and please be prepared.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.